So, Play was your biggest hit, right? Mm-hmm. You've never topped that since.
No.
Why?
That's a good question.
You keep saying that. That's what I'm here to do.
Yeah, and I don't know. Because I certainly tried for a while. Like now, it's not something I think about, but the albums after Play, like I desperately wanted them to be as successful as Play. And it would make me sad that each record was sort of like successively less successful. And
do you analyze it?
I mean, there's so many variables that contribute to the success of something. And Play as an album was this idiosyncratic, anomalous album. And I don't know what cultural factors contributed to its success. I mean, sometimes you can almost apply Occam's razor to it, where maybe the subsequent albums, I was trying too hard. You know, like Play, I thought that was the end of my career. Before Play was released, I was going broke. I had lost my record deal. I thought I was going to have to sell my apartment in New York and move back to Connecticut and become a philosophy professor. That's what I studied at college. And so Play had a sort of innocence to it because I didn't think anyone was going to listen to it.
Coming to you from Edinburgh, the birthplace of Harry Potter, Sir Sean Connery, Penicillin, The Telephone, Robert Louis Stevenson, and the Bay City Rollers. It's Trimming Musical Fat, and here's your hosts, Stephen and Paul Nicholson.
So welcome to Trimming the Musical Fat, the podcast where we trim albums that are too damn long. I'm Stephen Nicholson.
And I'm Paul Nicholson.
And thank you for joining us as we take our invisible scissors to Moby's ridiculously successful 1999 album, Play. What's going to make the under 50-minute single vinyl TTMF supercut of the album? Porcelain, Why Does My Heart Feel So Bad? Body Rock, keep listening to find out. And we'll also find time to do regular features like Joke of the Pod, Tale of the Tape, Critical Reception, Trim the Talk, play some archive interview clips, and revisit the year of release, and of course, the final question.
This is Eric Paul Johnson from Face the Music, an Electric Light Orchestra song-by-song podcast. And you're listening to Trimming the Musical Fat. Oh dear. That wasn't my fat I trimmed.
So we don't want to take the trip down to the south side all alone, so we're delighted to welcome back to the show friend and frequent podcast guest, Mr. Ross Braidwood. Ross, how are you?
Good, man, good.
Hello, Ross. Hello.
It's been a while.
It has been a while, actually. Yeah. You're back in operation for us. And Ross, you actually recommended this album for the trimming treatment. Please explain why.
Why?
Well,
I think I've been going with my CD collection probably the last year or so. So when you start doing that, you guys obviously doing this podcast, they start to look at albums and say, right, in terms of, because I've still got a CD player, and the CD player will tell you when you fire it in, it gives you the run-in time. You start to get a few thoughts, that's quite a long album, or there's quite a lot, there's maybe more than, say, 14, 15 tracks. So you start to then say, that's a good idea. That's a good idea for one of the episodes. So, and it's always been one of my favourites since it came out. And it's always been in my mind that actually that's 18. I think there's 18 songs, so it's definitely over the 50 mark. Didn't know by how much, but just want to kind of revisit it anyway, because again, it's I think one of the best albums of its kind of era.
And do you know what? In the summer there, I ended up buying the vinyl reissue of it. So it's a double album on vinyl, and I was listening to it again today before the show. And I mean, it's 25 years old now, still holds up, doesn't sound dated. I think just because just the production on it, the way it was put together, still holds up incredibly well.
He's a very talented guy, isn't he? Yeah. I mean, I was a fan before this anyway, so I was a fan of the earlier state where Go, I think Move was a single. So I've always been a bit of a fan of that kind of music. It's more sort of club sort of orientated music. Techno.
Very techno.
There's a couple of techno bangers in this album. So I've always been a kind of a fan, and I had that's right. So I remember on record I had Feeling So Real.
Right.
So if you remember that coming out,
Mm-hmm.
I had that on record. I remember I had a orange vinyl, I think it was, or orange cover.
Yeah.
So I was all a bit of a fan, but this was probably a bit of a change, I'd say, in style. We'll get to it anyway, but maybe,
Yeah.
and probably one reason for picking it as well is probably a bit different to anything else you guys have probably gone through in terms of early music. So I don't know if you've done a more sort of dance orientated, electronic orientated album. So yeah,
I don't think we have we, Paul?
Yeah, we done Lauren Garney.
Maybe just Radiohead.
Lauren Garney and Greatest Hits.
Which one? That's next then.
Well, before I forget, just to do a couple of shout outs, because this has been our first kind of full album trimming episode in a while. So we did do a couple of competitions recently, so just a shout out to the winners. So one person who walked away with a exclusive Trimming the Musical Fat t-shirt, the most sought after clothing item perhaps in all the world, and it was our friend and sometime podcast guest Brian Borthwick who won that one. So I hope to be seeing Brian wearing that one day, maybe in the pub. Yeah, another shout out just to Rich Hall, and I think Rich has just moved down to Florida over there in the US, and Rich is the winner of a Queen print. So that's been sent over to Rich. So we hope he enjoys that. And we also want to have a shout out to the people that have been our weekly members of the week, which sounds a bit rude, but yeah. So we've had quite a number of people over the last couple of weeks. So I think like Todd and Eric and Brian and Kylie and
Jason.
Paul and Davey. So yeah, big shout out to all of them. So yes, we are talking Moby today. So maybe stick with you, Ross. What's your kind of level of fandom? And do you remember what was the first ever Moby product you ever bought?
Probably more a fan up to probably this album, and then after it probably dropped off for me in terms of any stuff he did after that. And I don't think I bought any of his albums.
Right.
But I was always a kind of fan up to that point. Yeah, always kind of loved his music. A very talented guy, and I think working in the sort of dance electronic side of things, a lot of that music can be a bit like sound dated and not very well put together. But I think he's always proved himself to be a talented musician actually, and composer, and being able to get amazing melodies out of the synthesizer and make it sound like it's strings and that kind of stuff. So yeah, so I've always been a fan. I've seen him once many years ago at a dance festival in, I think it was Ayrshire, of all places. So I've seen him live, and he was pretty good. Done all the classics. So. And then the first track, first piece of music was it was Feeling So Real. I think I actually bought two, because I think there was the original plus some remixes, and then there was another 12-inch with other remixes. So Feeling So Real was the first one that I bought, which I don't have anymore, far enough. I don't know why, but I don't have.
Okay, well, thank you for that. What about you, Paul?
Massive fan. No, I don't really know much. I don't really know.
Are you being facetious, Paul?
Not at all. No sarcasm at all. No, I don't really know much of his stuff, but through listening to the album, there's a few tunes I recognise. I suppose probably for me, it's probably the Jason Bourne film. That's when Moby,
Right.
the theme, and also he did the Bond theme for Tomorrow Never Dies. He did like a version of the Bond theme. So other than that, that's probably it really for me. I always thought he looked like Michael Stipe.
So you never actually had the Play album? I thought you had it on CD.
No.
Well, for me, in terms of fandom, just more of a casual observer, if you like. I can kind of dip in and out of his discography, and I think the first thing I ever bought was the James Bond theme working that he'd done in 1997 for the Tomorrow Never Dies soundtrack. Yes, that was a CD single back in 97.
Play the platinum-selling Grammy-nominated CD from Moby. Critics call it the most original, influential, and innovative release this year. But who cares what they say? Decide for yourself. Play, featuring Body Rock, Natural Blues, and Porcelain. CD in stores now.
It's the tale of the tape. Play is the fifth studio album by American electronic musician Moby. It was released on May 17, 1999, through Mute Records internationally and V2 Records in North America. Recording of the album began in mid-1997, following the release of Moby's fourth album, Animal Rights, which deviated from his electronica style. Moby's goal for Play was to return to electronica, blending downtempo with blues and roots music samples. Originally intended to be his final record, the album was recorded at Moby's home studio in Manhattan. While some of Moby's earlier work had garnered critical and commercial success within the electronic dance music scene, Play was both a critical success and a commercial phenomenon. There are 18 tracks on the album, and its duration is 63 minutes, which means we need to lose at least 13 minutes today. There were a massive 8 singles released from the album, and they are 1. Honey, released August 24th, 1998. 2. Run On, released April 26th, 1999. 3. Body Rock, released July 12th, 1999. 4. Why Does My Heart Feel So Bad? Released October 11th, 1999. 5. Natural Blues, released March 6th, 2000. Porcelain, released April 25th, 2007. Southside, released October 10th, 2008. Find My Baby, released October 16th, 2000. Play received widespread critical acclaim upon release. On Metacritic, which assigns a normalized rating to reviews from mainstream critics, the album has a score of 84 out of 100 based on 20 reviews, indicating universal acclaim. Barry Walters from Rolling Stone said, "The ebb and flow of 18 concise, contrasting cuts writes a story about Moby's beautifully conflicted interior world while giving the outside planet beats and tunes on which to groove." The album sold 12 million copies worldwide, reaching #1 in the UK and 38 in America. It went 6 times platinum in the UK and double platinum in the US.
It's time for us to run on as we trim the talk, the feature where we're all asked the same questions and have to answer them all in under 3 minutes. So, gentlemen, are you ready to roll? So our time starts now.
3
So
minutes
describe
start now.
Moby in 3 words.
Bald Maverick.
So I'll say techno, gospel, not to play, cinematic.
I'd go bald vegan tunesmith. So have you seen Moby live, Paul?
No.
Well, Ross, we know you have. I've also seen Moby live as well. Maybe talk about that later on. Your favourite Moby album, Paul?
This was a tough one, but I think this album Play.
Snap.
Yeah, same for me. Play. Your favourite Moby song?
My Weakness.
I would also go Porcelain, but the clubbed to death version by Rob Dugan, which is sensational. So what were you doing at the time of the album's release in May 1999?
I was thinking about this earlier. I went to see the Rolling Stones at Murrayfield.
May 99 would be
You can't even remember last Tuesday, Ross, can you?
working, drinking, maybe
Savannah
going to see
Beach
Arts
tuning,
play. But
20%.
yeah,
2 minutes
nothing
left.
really much. We made towards the end of the season, wasn't it, when it came out? I don't know if I bought it straight away. I can't even mind when I did buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say, but just be the usual, working.
Yeah, I think for me, I was looking back, going to see the Beastie Boys in Glasgow. And I just started working at the Halifax in Dalkeith, I think, that month. So when and where did you first hear the album?
When we arranged to do the podcast. That was so. Recently, I've listened to it again, obviously, during this. But yeah, so maybe a month and a half ago, something like that.
Okay.
And myself, I mean, I would have bought it anyway, so I think probably a few months maybe after it came out. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know if I bought this until maybe 2000, because I seem to remember buying the Beach soundtrack first, and Porcelain was on that. And I think I then went and bought Play. So yeah, I think maybe after in 2000. Your favourite track from the album?
Porcelain.
My weakness.
Porcelain. And the song you like least from the album?
Guitar, flute and string.
Sounds like the name of a pub.
It does, yeah.
Run on.
I'll say The Sky Is Broken. And your album rating out of 5?
30 seconds to go.
Ouch. Okay, Ross.
5.
5. I'm going to go for a excellent 4.
Game over.
Well done there, gentlemen. I think we made that relatively unscathed. So, Ross, you and I have seen Moby live. So you were saying, a dance festival. And what year was that? Do you remember?
Aye, right. So I'm trying to work it out. I would. So obviously it was after. It would have been after Play, I think. Good question, because it would have been before I went to Australia. Definitely that. So I'd probably say early 2000s. So it was called Homelands. I don't know if you remember it advertised. It was called Homelands.
Right.
It was in what is it, New Cumnock? It was something like that. I don't think it was New Cumnock, but something like that. And actually, who I seen there was Moby, Public Enemy, Left Field, and your favourite, Ian Brown. Plus loads of different DJs and all that stuff. But you know, in terms of seeing him in Public Enemy, which I generally wouldn't go and see like a hip hop act, but they're probably my favourite anyway of that kind of genre of music, and then Field as well. So it was a great experience. I kind of seen different artists, but yeah. So I seen him there, and he was pretty damn good.
Yeah, well, I seen Hogmanay 2000, so New Year's Eve 2000 at Edinburgh Castle, and I remember I was wearing a kilt because full Scottish gear because I was going to Kelly right after it. I think maybe at the Assembly Rooms or somewhere, and yeah, it was a good show. I actually don't really remember much about it other than that I was really cold, and for whatever reason I remember the song Go, because that was obviously a bit more up tempo, and it was good to jump around a bit, so I was freezing. but yeah, it was a good show. It was a good night. So yeah, it was good.
This is Caroline.
And this is Marisa.
We're the Eves, and you're listening to Trimming the Musical Fat.
So let's talk about the album itself. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts, Paul, because for you, you're listening to this after it's been out 25 years. You've never heard it before. You're probably familiar with a lot of the singles from it. What do you think of it? You know, you're obviously giving it a 2 out of 5, so I'm guessing you're not thinking that highly of it.
No, some of it was good. It was quite ambient, and I like some of it with the type of music, but I think it could have been a good album. Because for me, the last half, I was listening to it yesterday when I was driving back, and the last half of it, I thought that's just rank. A lot of the last half of it, but I like the ones with a bit of melody. I almost think there's too much on this.
I would actually agree with you about the second half of the album not being anywhere near as strong as the first half. But I'll keep my powder dry because I want to hear Ross's. You're giving it 5 out of 5, Ross. So obviously a huge fan of this record.
I am, and the reason why I'm laughing is that I see the exact opposite. It's really funny. Completely, absolute opposite. Where the singles, so maybe the bigger singles, and I remember the videos as well. So I remember. So keep the right here. So I think I might get the track list in there. So I think Natural Blues was the one where he was in a shopping trolley, and he had old makeup, so he was like an old man. Is that right? Or
think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember that? I think I remember Why Does My Heart Feel So Bad? Because I think it was like an
animated,
which is a bit like Radiohead's
Paranoid Android.
So remember, so being that, and obviously the singles, a majority of the big singles, they're good tunes, and they're good tunes. So I've always kind of still liked them. But actually, the majority of my favourite tracks are probably the closing five.
Right.
They're actually my favourites.
Okay.
Because they're, I mean, completely different. Maybe not as upbeat. I get that, right? I get that, and there's more an ambience to it. So they're kind of beauty to as well, but they're more instrumental as well, and there's no like the gospel samples, and so a lot, or he's actually either singing or talking on the song.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably maybe the difference. So it has a lull in the middle, which I think a lot of songs that I dropped was a bit in the middle, probably. That's they went pretty much 3 or 4 in a row. So it's probably the first 2 tracks I don't think they're that strong, but then you start getting to the real singles, then it has a wee bit in the middle, not so good, and then I think it's really strong at the end. So it's just funny how you kind of see things and how you see music. And I suppose I've been listening to this album for 25 years, so it's off and on. What I would say as well is, if you do like this album, clearly Paul, you didn't. But anybody else who likes the album and not aware of it as a B-sides album, and the B-sides album is excellent. There's some absolute cracking stuff on the same lines as a song I think you posted ages ago, Stephen. And I can't remember what it's called now. Probably I posted that in the music club, but it's a bit like that, that instrumental, soaring strings, uplifting, that kind of stuff. So it's worth checking out the B-sides. But
one of the things that we will do later on is just talk about other Moby tracks that are not on Play that we would recommend. So the track you're referring to, Love of Strings, that was it, the Love of Strings, which was a B-side from the follow-up album. 18, what a tune. But anyway, we'll come back to that later on. So for me, this is an excellent album. I really, really like this album. I just think it's let down by having too many songs, which is why we're here today. And maybe just a handful of tunes which, to me, are a bit mending and directionless, which are probably the ones you like, Ross. And in the main, though, it's, it is, you're right, it's a lush, beautiful sounding album which channels the blues and electronica, with great use of samples from old field recordings and gospel records. And I think he takes all of that and puts it together really well to create something that's quite unique. So big fan of it. What do we think of the artwork for the album, Paul?
Yeah, I like the artwork for the album. It's quite cool, actually. It's one of the iconic albums, isn't it? Album covers. Actually, funnily enough, recognised album cover more than the music. I saw the album cover. It's
oh really?
Yeah. No, it's cool. It's just one of those sort of 90s albums, when you see the cover. It's quite famous.
It's become quite an iconic album cover. I think it was such a consistent seller for a good number of years. It's one of those ones that every home seemed to have a copy. But it has become quite iconic, and it's very simple. The blue background and the photo suits the music. I think that's the colour for me. When I think of this album, it's blue, right? So it fits it. But it's okay. It's okay. What do you think, Ross?
I was going to say that same thing. It's kind of a bit more subdued, or the colours are a bit more subdued. And even if you look on the back cover, it's him staring out glumly. But it kind of works with probably the album itself. But I haven't said that. Not all. I mean, there is upbeat, more happier sort of melodies in some of the songs. But I think overall there's probably a bit of a kind of mood to it. So it probably reflects the album cover. So you're right. You just see bald head right enough, I suppose. If it was in a record shack, you would see it. And it's like say it's been a big seller.
Well, I remember, because I think you'll appreciate that. Let me grab the album, the vinyl copy, because the inner sleeve of the record is quite clever what they do. But let me grab it and I'll show you. There we are. For those that are unfamiliar, there's the album cover for those that are watching. But yeah, the actual, it's a double vinyl, and what's pretty cool about it is on the inside sleeve they have the middle cutout where the record label is.
Oh, that's quite cool.
Right.
And the record label, so one of them has Moby itself, and the actual record label is, part of his shirt and
Right.
his
Belly
stomach
button.
and belly button, which is pretty cool. And another one here where he's upside down, but yeah, you get his belly button again
Right.
from the label, which completes the picture of him standing upside down. Yeah, that's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, no,
Nice.
can you put the previous picture
So-
you just had, Stephen? The one where you see him.
Which one?
The second, not the cover, but the other one.
Oh.
Yeah.
This one?
Do you not think, with that shirt, have you seen that film Boss Baby? Do you know Boss Baby? He looks a bit like him, just like with the shirt.
So Moby is Boss Baby.
Boss Baby, he looks like Boss.
Very good.
Here are the top 10 highest grossing movies of 1999. 10 The Green Mile, 9 Stuart Little, 8 Runaway Bride, 7 American Beauty, 6 Notting Hill, 5 Tarzan, 4 The Matrix, 3 Toy Story 2, 2 The Sixth Sense, 1 Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
Which songs are going to be as smooth as honey as they make it onto the TTMF Supercut of Play, and which are going to be chopped by a machete as they hit the cutting room floor? It's time to create the TTMF Supercut of Play. So for selection, we're including all 18 songs that featured on the original 1999 CD release of the album. So we're going to go through, and to get a spot, at least 2 out of the 3 of us had to have selected it. And I will say it worked out very well. So well, we ended up between us picking 13 songs, which came in at 49 minutes. So that was nigh on perfect. But you guys do not know what those 13 songs are and which 5 did not make it. So we'll go through them right now and talk about each one. And the first one that is up is Paul's favourite and my favourite, and probably I would say the maybe the most popular song of the album, and it's Porcelain. And let's hear a bit of it.
I never meant to hurt you. I never meant to lie. So this is goodbye. This is goodbye.
Okay, so that was Porcelain, which was the 6th single from the album, and it went top 5 here in the UK. So Ross, you didn't have this as your favourite song from the album, so I'm going to go to you first. What do you think of Porcelain?
Oh yeah, definitely the singles would be very much close to probably my favourite single. Yeah, that he released. It's a beautiful song. It's quite a mellow, kind of summery song. I don't know when it was released, but it'd be a perfect kind of sort of summer release song you want to hear just in the background, maybe in a pub, in a beer garden. So yeah, probably one of the sort of lighter tracks on the album. And obviously he's singing it as well, so obviously there's a mixture of him singing in songs, and then sampled, singers, blues singers in the past. So that's maybe the reason why the album works as well. There's a bit of variety of voices. So, but yeah, that's the one where he's kind of singing, but he's kind of as close to talking really as much as anything else.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lovely song. Yeah, it's a lovely song.
Right, Paul, your favourite? Tell us why.
Just like there's a lot of melody in it. It's just got a nice feeling to it. A bit like, I suppose it's in that late 90s era. Was it Air? Stuff like that. Late 90s, early 2000s. That sort of mellow music, just nice and chilled. Has it been used in like an advert or a movie trailer or something?
Oh, loads. Yeah.
Well, Play's got the world record, I think, for every song featuring an advert
All right.
on the album.
Every
So
song was at
every
one
song
point
had-
has been licensed. Yep.
Yeah. So,
But yeah, it was used I actually seen it used recently for, I think, a cruise company and also for a car company.
you just put your headphones on and just chill out, lie back and just listen to.
I think Ross, you were mentioning there, and you guys have both mentioned it's kind of got that chilled vibe, and in a lot of ways it reminds me of Groove Armadas at the River, which would have been around about this time as well. Now that's one of my favourite songs, and this is also one of my favourite songs. So there we are. They're obviously onto a winner with this sound, and I think I probably first heard it. I think when I went to see the Beach movie, which was late 1999, early 2000, and so yeah, it's one of my favourite songs of all time. It's probably my favourite remix of all time, as I've mentioned already. It's lush, ethereal, it's beautiful. I like the lyrics too, which was what I was. I think Moby said. I wrote this down. I was involved with this really, really wonderful woman, and I loved her very much. But I knew deep in my heart of hearts that we had no business being romantically involved. So it's sort of about being in love with someone, but knowing you shouldn't be with them. And if you listen to the lyrics, kind of having that context, it does give you a bit more impact when you're listening to it there. But yeah, it's an incredible song, absolutely classic. So it's our first track getting on the Supercut. The second is another single, and it is Why Does My Heart Feel So Bad? Well, we'll find out in a moment.
Why does my soul feel so
So that was Why Does My Heart Feel So Bad? And it was a song that was actually written back in 1992. And the track is based on the samples from the Banks Brothers, He'll Roll Your Burdens Away. So, Paul, why does my heart feel so bad? Tell me.
You need to be healed. I think, yeah,
Thanks.
it's one of the songs that I know, and it's good, but you can hear in the background in the music, I can hear where the Bourne themes come in. You can sort of hear like when the music comes in. But who does the singing on it? Who's it samples from?
The Banks Brothers.
Right. So it does sound early 90s.
Are you a fan of theirs?
Yes, that's.
Yeah. What bank is it? The Royal Bank or the Bank of Scotland? What I've found as well with this album, in a good way, I think there's a lot of similarities with Fatboy Slim, because it was around the same time. And that sounds like maybe something like what Fatboy Slim would do as well. It's a good song.
Roscoe?
Yeah, probably just make use of sampling, because like sampling, people can maybe see sampling as maybe stealing, but actually you can take like a piece of music and then add a vocal into it, and it can transform both pieces really. And I think with this one as well, so it's obviously got the Banks Brothers, the guys singing, but then once you get into almost like the chorus, sure there's like a female voice in there as well. It's just that uplifting. Again, it's going back to, he's kind of, I think with this album, he's kind of pioneered that sound that I think his later stuff's still been there, where it's that synth string sort of sound soaring, you know. It's just another example. There's loads of examples in this album, and again, I love that sound, so that's maybe the reason why I love the album.
Yeah.
But again, it's another excellent single. So if you were going to pick, I think there's maybe 6, but if you're going to pick maybe 4, as you normally would for an album, I think Porcelain and this would be 2 you would definitely go with. Yeah. Again, but very different, isn't it? It's very different to both. In that it's a bit more melancholy, but it's also got a bit of upliftingness in it, but it's not completely different song.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I remember buying the CD single of this back in 1999, and the single, it only got to number 16 here, which is quite surprising. But yeah, like Porcelain, this is also one of my favourite songs of all time. And I love how it starts simply with the piano, and as you say, Ross, how it builds in layers, the vocal, the drums, until we get that release with the female singer, as it Heel Open Doors, which is actually hard to hear what she's singing, but it's more, eh? But it's Heel Open Doors. Yeah, Heel Open Doors, yeah. And it's actually, when she repeats it later in the song, it's a different refrain, but yeah, the first one's, Heel Open Doors. You would never get that from just listening to it. You'd never get that. But yeah, it's a fabulous song. Amazing song. Love it.
Do you not think it sounds a bit like...
So that gets on, that song. Yeah.
Do you not think it sounds a bit like Massive Attack?
Yes.
That's what makes me think of.
Mm-hmm. Unfinished Sympathy.
Yeah.
Yeah, elements of it, definitely. Yeah. Okay, third song that's getting on is another single. The third single from the album, and it was Body Rock, and here it is. So yeah, Body Rock, I'll maybe kick us off on this one. So another fact that I managed to find out. So this song incorporates vocal samples from Love Rap by Spoonie G and the Treacherous Three, but of course. And this song, it reminds me very much of Moby's reworking of the James Bond theme. It's a good up-tempo tune with excellent use of the Spoonie G sample. Yeah, really good tune.
Yeah, that's what I had down as the taking notes rap sample, and then pretty much a proper club track. So it's one of the ones you could imagine being in a club. This comes on, and again it's got that uplifting, the sort of chorus, that uplifting sort of melody in the background, and it's got guitar in it. I think it's got guitar in it.
Yeah, it has. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's got. And again, no every song has. Again, it's that variety. So you've got like hip hop rap sample, you've got guitars, and so you were saying this was a single, was that right?
It was, yeah.
It's a single, and yeah, and I think you're definitely right. The song that he did for Jason Bourne, it's on the same sort of lines, isn't it? Definitely.
Yeah, that's a James Bond, but yeah, I think there's elements.
Oh, James Bond, right?
Yeah.
I meant the Jason Bourne. What's that song called again?
Extreme Ways. Extreme Ways.
That's it, yeah. So it kind of reminds me of that as well. Obviously, this is before it, but in that sort of lines, isn't it? Yeah, that's more sort of club, and rather than the more mellower songs in the album. Okay. But yeah, crack up. Yeah, definitely want to turn up when it's on.
It's really good. It reminds me a wee bit of Gangster Trippin' by Fatboy Slim or Groove Armada. Maybe even a wee bit of the Beastie Boys.
Right, okay.
Like their 90s stuff, maybe.
More sort of hip-hop-y.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it's a good song.
Hello, listeners. This is David from In the Lap of the Pods Queen podcast. And you are listening to another episode of Trimming the Musical Fat. Slanjava.
Okay, great. That's the third track. Yeah, the fourth track that gets on is Ever Loving. Paul, Ever Loving, what do you think?
I liked it because there's some instruments in it. It's not all electronic. There's an acoustic guitar, and it sounds a bit like the end sounds a bit like Vangelis or Jean-Michel Jarre, that sort of, so that's a good thing. So it reminded me of that a bit.
Yep.
Just how that music can touch you as well. Just like how it slow and builds up, but it's got that sort of maybe 80s feel to it as well, which is good.
That's good. Well, obviously it touched you. I know you like being touched, so this is the song for you, yeah?
Touched me deeply.
Sam Fox.
Ross, what do you think of it?
It's one of my favourite tracks on the album.
Yeah, me too.
Yes. So I've got notes here. Yeah, so it starts with the acoustic guitar. There's I think there's a couple of songs that start with the acoustic guitar, which is again quite nice. But most generally an electronic album, isn't it? And I think there's a kind of almost feels as if there's a Native American chanting in it as well, a wee bit at the start. And then the whole swearing. It's why it just builds and builds and builds, and then the synth string sound that obviously Moby's famed for. And I think probably not just this song, but actually others in it, that the songs are relatively short because you guys maybe are not into electronic music as much as I am, and part of the problem over the years, particularly in the 90s, that the albums were too long and the tracks were, because they weren't songs, they were instrumental, but they were too long. And I think that's what's really brilliant about Play and a lot of the songs. I mean, this is like 3 and a bit minutes. It does what it needs to do. Builds up, you get your payoff at the end, and then that's it, it's done. Rather than it could easily go on for a 5-6 minutes as dance music tends to happen. So yeah, I definitely one of my faves, and again it's towards the end of the album where I think it's at its strongest. You guys don't agree with it?
Yeah, it's one of my favourites on the record too. Very lo-fi in a lot of ways, which I think is part of its charm. Another beautiful tune. You can see why it's been licensed for several movies. Builds nicely, and you get that big payoff with a minute to go. You know, the big drums, the music swelling up. Great tune. And I actually found something interesting from an interview Moby did in 2009 with Rolling Stone, where he was talking about this track, and he said, this still makes me laugh. I recorded a Rush demo to cassette. I could never mix it in a way I was happy with, so I just ended up using the cassette demo on the album. And if you listen to it, there's hiss, there's tape warble. It's probably one of the only songs on a 10 million selling record recorded to cassette. And what's funny is that it's been licensed. Oliver Stone used it in a movie. It's been in a couple of really big movies. And every time I hear it in a huge movie, I think to myself, this is just a crummy demo on cassette.
Just shows you though, isn't it, that sometimes you just, it works. And sometimes, rather than overproduce something, actually, the first stab at it is the best. Because sometimes you hear demos, don't you? You hear demos of maybe your favourite songs, you eventually end up liking that version more than the kind of studio version.
Yeah.
Bizarre, isn't it?
Maybe as Carrot.
There we go.
Yeah.
Everlong, beautiful song. Yeah, maybe. That's it. That's it. So that gets on. Track 5 that gets on is Rushing. And here it is. So let me give you a fact in relation to the song that was used in the 2001 UK film Goodbye Charlie Bright, which I have to say I've never heard of. And
Charlie Brown.
And for me, I mean, I actually think, I wish, I think the first half of the song for me is actually pretty unremarkable, but the second half is really good when the piano kicks into gear and the song starts to build with the keyboard in the background. And that's why I picked it, and it's a relatively short song too. Paul, what do you think?
Pretty similar to what you just said. It starts off and it could be anything really, quite forgettable, and then some beautiful melodies in the last half of the song. That
you
even get a bit of Baywatch in there, Baywatch theme.
It does sound like the Baywatch theme, yeah.
Because I think when it starts, it's got that female vocal sample, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it Hey Baby or something all
Mhm.
the way through? And I
That's
think
what
it's
you
like,
normally say, Ross, isn't it? Hey, baby.
oh, that's what they all say. Aye, so that's kind of in a loop, but I'm not really mad on repetition when it comes to like a vocal sample.
Mhm.
I think some of the songs and albums that I've probably dropped is part of that reason. But the piano definitely saves it, isn't it? In the second half of the song. I think that's all part of, rather than starting with that, you build your way up, and that's just maybe his way of kind of doing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, excellent track.
Great.
It's
Thank
quite
you.
early on, isn't it? In the album, it's quite.
Yeah, track 5 maybe.
Hey everyone out there in the podcasting world, this is Widescreen Podcast. This is Sam whilst you are listening to another episode of the Trimming the Musical Fat podcast.
So let's move on to our 6th selection for the TTMF Supercut, and it's actually the first song on the album, and it's Honey, and here it is.
I'm gonna rap like that. Sometime I get a hump at my back. Sometime I'm going over here. Sometime can my honey come back. Sometime I'm gonna rap like that. Sometime I get a hump at my back. Sometime I'm going over here. Sometime can my honey come back. Sometime I'm gonna rap like that. Sometime I get a hump at my back. Sometime I'm going over here. Sometime can my honey come back.
Do you know what else? It's a good song, good album opener. Do you know what it reminds me of? Obviously, this maybe they nicked it. The Scissor Sisters. You know the start of it there. It sounds like the Scissor Sisters. Is it Laura? The song Laura.
It's a serious accusation there. So Ross, what do you think of Honey?
Well, I didn't pick it. This is one of the songs I dropped.
Oh, was
This
it?
is one of the songs I dropped.
Ah, that's right.
It's quite an upbeat start, isn't it?
Yeah.
To the album, but I just probably did it quite. And I think this was a single as well. Is that right?
It was. Yeah.
But yeah, probably one going back and listen, just like say the last couple of nights, go back and listen to the album, and I was looking for songs to kind of drop. I thought, yeah, that's one I could do well. It's fine, but it's not one of my favourite on the album, I have to say.
Okay. It is probably worth mentioning, actually, because I forgot them. So the first 5 tracks that we've picked there, those are the 5 that we all picked. From here on in, it's just 2 of us that have picked the remainder of the songs. So you didn't pick this one. So this is our first song where, all 3 of us didn't pick. Yeah. So Honey, yeah, for me, it was the first single released from the album, and it got to number 33 here in the UK. And the song samples the 1960 recording by American blues singer Bessie Jones. And yeah, for me, this is actually just such a good example of all the different elements Moby is using to make this album. So the use of old field recordings, samples, the blues vibe, the keyboards, to make something so authentic sounding, memorable and catchy, and I think it's an excellent album opener.
The 10 biggest selling albums of 1999 in the UK are 10 Westlife with Westlife, 9 The Corrs with Talk on Corners, 8 Steps with Steptacular, Ride, 7 Robbie Williams with I've Been Expecting You, 6 Stereophonics with Performance and Cocktails, 5 ABBA with Gold, The Greatest Hits, 4 Travis with The Man Who, 3 Various Artists with Now Music 44, 2 Boyzone by Request The Greatest Hits, 1 Shania Twain with Come On Over.
The next one is Find My Baby, track 7, and that was one which me and Paul picked. Ross did not. That was Find My Baby. So a couple of facts in relation to it. So it was released as the 8th, I repeat, the 8th and final single from Play. And the song features samples from the song Joe Lee's Rock by Boy Blue,
And yeah, I'll kick us off on this one because my comments for I just made for Honey, I think really carry over into this song too. I love the recurring sample hook, the driving acoustic guitar, and the sliding electric guitar breakdown during the middle of the song. And it's just a very modern sounding blues electronica song. So Paul, you picked it. You must like it.
Yeah, it's a good song. It reminds me a bit of Beck, the type of stuff he was doing, that bluesy electronic stuff. A couple of years before this. It's a clever use of the samples and how it's all mixed in to make a song. So, no, it's a good song.
Didn't pick it, Ross. What's wrong with you?
It was borderline, so I actually could have had had enough space, but I ended up going with just 12 songs rather than 13. That was it.
Right.
So that was probably the bottom of the 13. So I kind of left them. It's kind of borderline. Again, it's got the male vocal, so I'm not guessing different samples, and then you've got the female as well. So almost like gospel type singers, particularly female singers that kind of add something else to it. So that's kind of the blueprint for some of the songs, and I'm bringing together Moby's compositions, and so it's a good tune, but yeah, not one that made the 12.
Alrighty, well, let's move on to track 8, which was one me and Ross picked, and that is Southside, and here it is. So Southside, Ross, you picked it. What do you like about it?
It's quite a guitar-heavy track, I think, more or less. So it's maybe closer to a kind of rock track, maybe, than certainly some of the others on the album. And again, it's got the variety of the album. You're kind of looking for some songs that you could maybe listen to a club or turn up at a house party. Obviously, some of the songs we did to work at a house party, but yeah, Southside definitely would. And I think, again, another one that, not many, but one that Moby actually sings on as well. So like maybe kind of sticks out. But yeah, it's always kind of been a kind of favourite of mine. Probably similar to, what was the other one? It was like a club track. What was that? Body Rock. But it seems sort of like Body Rock, just something really upbeat that sets it apart from the more somber pieces that I really like later in the album.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, this was the 7th single from the album, and it done well in America. It got to number 14 there, and I didn't know this until yesterday. The song was initially recorded with No Doubt's Gwen Stefani, and production problems forced Moby to leave Stefani's vocals off the mix of the song that's on Play. But Stefani's vocals were then restored for the song's single release. I don't know if I've ever heard that, so I need to try and to check that out. But yeah, I like this song mainly for the chorus, which is really good guitar solo as well. The middle 8 and the slide guitar they use in it is excellent. It comes in after the first chorus. So yeah, a really good kind of pop rock song. Yeah. Not for you, Paul?
The song actually isn't bad. What I found with a lot of these songs is that the intros are not very good, but then when it gets into the song, and this sounds a bit like maybe early 90s Manchester, some of it at the start, but then it begins to sound a bit like Gary Newman almost, and it gets to the chorus. So And when I'm saying all these things that, like, when I'm saying other artists, it sounds like this and that, it's a compliment, it's not a criticism, but it's just, that's what it makes me think of.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good song, I just didn't put it on.
Great, thank you.
Hey, this is Marv from Pods Like Us, the show where we help you to find your next podcast addiction. And you're listening to Trimming the Musical Fat.
Song number 9 is Natural Blues, which was another one just me and Ross picked. And here it is. Okay, so that was Natural Blues, which was the 5th single from Play. And the song is built around vocal sample from Trouble So Hard by American folk singer Vera Hall from 1937, which is kind of astonishing. So yeah, this for me, this song, it's all about the sampled song and everything that's then been built around it. So I think it's so fully authentic and full of heart. And I think Moby's built a very dramatic song around it, using a lot of the Play album tropes, which we've already discussed, the piano, the ethereal keyboards, the female backing vocals, and so on. So yeah, excellent tune. And you're in agreement, Ross, right?
It's a good tune. Yeah, yes. I think the singles again, fine track. I think the sample itself does feel as if it's from a different era, even compared to some other samples. We're saying 1930s, but it does feel as if it's like the voice and all that. It does feel as if it's from a completely different era. But then, that's the beauty of what he's done, is taking it more modern sort of music techniques and molded it against this sample for the 1930s. Which is one of the reasons why I think the album as a whole works. So obviously there's a lot of skill to do that and kind of pull it off. But it's this is probably one of the best examples of it kind of working. And you can imagine an artist trying this and then being a complete disaster. So fair play for a fine track, and you can see why it was a single. And again, I think I mentioned at the start, but I think the video, and he was dressed up like an OEP, I think. And I think he's maybe in a hospital. I can't remember. But
or a psychiatric ward or something. Yeah.
I just remember the MTV days that you associate these albums and the singles with the MTV, where if it was an album in the 2000s and 2010s, you've not got that association.
Okay. Paul, not good enough for your cut?
It just sounded quite repetitive. Like, it was like the sample was good, but it's just like the music behind it was just sounded like everything else, really. It wasn't that it was bad, but for me, it just sounded like repetition, really.
Here's 3 of the top news stories from 1999. 1. The impeachment trial of President Bill Clinton came to a conclusion. 2. The situation in the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia escalated into a war. 3. And Space Shuttle Discovery became the first vessel to dock with the International Space Station.
Grand. Okay, so let's move on we're into double digits now, and number 10, and it is Run On.
Dog got the mighty, let me tell the news. My head got wet in midnight dew. Red God, I've been down on my bending knees, talking to a man from Galilee. My God spoke and he sounds so sweet. I thought I heard the shuffle of angels' feet. He put one hand upon my head. Red God, the mighty, let me tell you what he said. Go tell that lonesome liar. Go tell that midnight rider. Tell the gambling, rambling backslider. Tell him God Almighty gonna cut him down. You might run on for a long time. Run on, ducking and dodging. Run on.
So yeah, that was Run On, and it features a sample from Run On for a Long Time, a 1949 recording by Bill Lanford and the Lanfordaires of the traditional folk hymn, God's Gonna Cut You Down. Okay. And yes, it was the second single from Play. So yeah, what do we think about that one? So I think it was you and me and picked this, Paul. So what do you think about it?
It's a good song. It sounds different to the rest on the album. Do you know the samples? It sounds like Paolo Nutini, one of his songs. And he's obviously obviously nicked it from Moby, but it sounds like, you know, that guy goes, hey, oh, hey, I wanna come by and I want some. It sounds a bit like that. Is it Harry Belafonte? Yeah, I don't know. Sounds a bit like that.
I thought you had any yellow face there.
Yeah.
No.
Or
Harry Belafonte, yeah.
So it sounds a bit like that.
Dear listeners, you're getting it all today, aren't you? You never thought you'd be turning up to hear a rendition of that. Yeah, thumbs up from Paul and a thumbs up from me. And yeah, I mean, I just refer back to the comments I made for Honey. Yeah, I love the sample. Again, full of heart and soul, and it's a toe tapper. But Ross, your toes must have been tapping to this one.
Fine, it's fine. It's quite jovial. It's a jovial track, a bit like the first one. But maybe I'm just a bit more into the sort of moodier, uplifting, the more synthesizer-led probably tracks. So that's maybe why. You've got to cut songs off, isn't it? So that's that again. Honey and this one's probably the ones that kind of keep it in.
Yeah, just a grumpy Ross, is that it?
I am indeed.
Okay, well, you'll be cheered up with the next selection because it is My Weakness, which was one that you and I picked. And here, let's hear it. So yeah, that was my Weakness, the final track on the album proper. And Moby said of the song, I never expected anyone to ever listen to this song. It was tagged on to the end because I love music that's equal parts disconcerting and beautiful. So, Ross, you must find it very beautiful.
I think Moby's just saying it, summed it up. Just a perfect song to end, I think. So I always I do love an album that has a great opening track and a great closing track. And it's not necessarily the best song on the album, but it's just perfect to run out. So I think this is just one of the ones. And it's probably has been pretty much probably my favourite track on the album since after a few listens. So I think it's consistently. All those others close to it. I've always kind of loved it. It kind of starts. Again, it's one of the ones that just kind of builds in. It starts off almost like African chanting, maybe. I don't know where the sample comes from, but it feels like it's Africa rather than America. And then the strings. Now, whether there's any real strings in it, I don't know. It feels as if there is strings in this album, but I don't know. I don't think they've just synthesized it, sounding these strings. But it's just one of the ones that just builds and builds and builds. A bit like Time by what's his name?
Hans Zimmer.
Yes, from Inception.
Yeah.
When it just kind of builds and it to a crescendo, and it's kind of that, and I love that sort of type of song, like an instrumental, and it's just brilliant. And it's just one of the ones where it could go probably on further, but I don't think it does. I think it's probably 3.5 minutes.
Short.
Again, relatively short songs or short tracks of music, but it maybe leaves you wanting more, maybe for me. But I just but I think there's a bit of it's uplifting, but it's also there's melancholy, and I think some of the best songs, best pieces of music has kind of that. It's maybe like a pull, you know, there's a bit of friction maybe between the two, and it just makes it even a better song. So it's my favourite, and it's an absolute classic.
It's different to everything else on the album. It's kind of, I feel like, a strangely quiet, beautiful song, and you mentioned it, yeah, that kind of African choir sample and a bit of a loop, and again, I'm sure when I was researching this and the song came up, Moby couldn't even remember where he sampled it from. But he obviously picked it from somewhere, and yeah, it's the kind of song I was listening to it last night, and it's the kind of song you can listen to and just picture being up all night, out with friends or whatever, and you haven't gone home, and you're still up in the city, and maybe you're traveling home at this point as the sun's starting to rise, and that is this vibe for me. It's like it would be good at the end of a Michael Mann movie. That's the vibes you get from it. Yeah, it's great.
Cinematic, is it? It's cinematic, I think.
It is cinematic.
Probably,
yeah.
Yeah.
The calm after the storm. Yeah, that's it. Paul, didn't create much of a storm for you.
I don't think it's a bad song. I think the problem that I had was it was near for the last half of the album, with maybe one exception, but I suppose I'd sort of turned off by that point, and when that song came on, it was kind of like,
right,
it just fell by the wayside, probably because the other songs before it weren't very good, I didn't think. So I kind of lost interest, so I couldn't really give it my full attention, really, probably.
Like Trimming the Musical Fat, why not check out our other podcast, Trimming the Movie Fat?
Thank you for that, Jen. So let's move on to the penultimate cut on the Supercut, and it's track 12 for us, and it is Machete. Alrighty, so that was Machete, and that was one I think me and Ross picked, Paul didn't. And this was used in the 1999 movie Play It to the Bone, starring Antonio Banderas and Woody Harrelson, which I don't recall whatsoever. Nope. And Moby said of the song, it was the only song on the record that was really fun to play live. And yeah, I can understand why. So I picked this as something a bit different on the record. It's very much kind of old school techno, really, or old school Moby. It's a faster, more upbeat tune to throw in amongst the more similar sounding songs on the album. And I think the last minute of it is great, where it goes all dramatic and it starts to build towards the climax. So yeah, it's a good little change of pace for this album, so I wanted to get it on here. And Ross, this would be right up your street.
Well, and you're right. So this is definitely maybe a couple of others, but I think more this song than anything else that is older stuff. So any fans of his earlier music like Go and Him, and Feeling So Real, and songs like that, it's kind of more into that. It's more club music. And it kind of starts off, but you're right. Actually, the bit at the end, it's not just like a booming techno song. Actually, the bit towards the end actually makes it a cut above just stick a techno track on it, just so it's a bit different. There's still a bit of musicianship in there, so yeah. But yeah, definitely on there for as much for that reason, a bit more up tempo.
Okay. Different. And Paul, this just isn't your cup of tea at all.
No, I kind of want to take a machete to it, to be honest. Yeah, I just don't like that type of music. It's imagined having my glow stick and like a face mask on and everything.
Big fish, small fish, cardboard box. Yeah.
I won't like that.
Okay, well, let's move on to the final track then, which is The Sky Is Broken, and that was one you guys picked. I did not. And let's hear a bit of it.
Speak to me, baby, in the middle of the night. Pull your mouth close to mine. I can see the wind coming down like black night. So speak to me.
Okay, so that was The Sky is Broken. Couple of facts. So the song featured prominently in the All Things episode of The X-Files, specifically Season 7, Episode 17. And Moby said of the song that it was intentionally very minimal, very austere, very simple.
It's Moby during his Jim Morrison period, isn't it?
Yeah. The movie will begin
it's that.
in several moments.
down the hall.
This voice announced. Yeah. Oh, well done. Well, what did you like about this one then, Paul? You think it's the Jim Moby does Jim Morrison?
It's probably, I just like it for a laugh.
So to speak.
It's almost like he's trying to be really sexy in it. I was going down the road. I was doing it. So it's more of a laugh for me. Like he's trying to be like Michael Hutchins singing Need You Tonight or something. It's quite funny. You can imagine Moby with his wee jeans on, like pretending he's Michael Hutchins and leather jacket.
With tea. Opened the door. Had a pee. Okay, so you've picked it for comedy value, yes. Paul. Ross, did you pick it for comedy value too?
Well, now that Paul's described that, I'm listening to the song at the same time again. Right, so you're right. It's quite minimal. It starts off with the drums, just a set of drums in it, and there's maybe a wee bit something in the background. And then obviously it's kind of spoken word stuff. So it's very serious, a very serious, and I suppose sometimes in some ways that last closing section of the album is quite serious, and that's part of what make it. But again, at the end, when he says the sky is broken, and then the strings and the synths just come in at the end, and the piano. We've got a piano, just a sort of a basic piano line going through it as well, and it's just sometimes the simplicity. So it works for me. And again, probably the closing bit as well is the best part, I think, for probably quite a few songs in the album. This is probably another example.
Okay, well, I didn't pick it, and I'll be honest, I don't like the songs when Paul's making a laugh of it, but I actually just don't like the songs where Moby just talks over the top of them with a drum beat. Just don't do anything for me. I do like the cool keyboard part that comes in during the last minute or so. That is cool. Yeah, that is good.
Come here, baby.
Okay, gentlemen, we have our 13 songs making...
Come here, baby.
What was that?
I need you tonight.
We'll maybe ask him to do a cover of that.
Here are the top 10 selling UK singles of 1999. 10. When the Going Gets Tough by Boyzone. 9. Flat Beat by Mr. Oizo. 8. Sweet Like Chocolate by Shanks and Bigfoot. 7. That Don't Impress Me Much by Shania Twain. 6. Livin' La Vida Loca by Ricky Martin. 5 9 p.m. Till I Come by ATB. 4. Mambo No. 5 by Lou Bega. 3. The Millennium Prayer by Cliff Richard. 2 Blue. Dubba D by Eiffel 65. 1 Baby One More Time by Britney Spears.
Anyway, we've got our 13 songs that are making up the Supercut. There were 5 that didn't make it, and let me just list them for you. So, Guitar, Flute and String, Paul's favourite pub. Down Slow, Inside, 7, and If Things Were Perfect. So, you guys particularly aggrieved that some of your selections didn't get on there?
Guitar, Flute and String.
Yeah. What do you like about that one then, Ross?
Excellent track. Again, it starts acoustic guitar, isn't it? In the synth. Again, it's only about 2 minutes long, I think.
Yeah.
Somber piece, but I like it because it's got guitar in it as well. So there's not.
Okay.
There's actually probably more guitar in the album than you think.
Yeah.
But again, just But I just love that sort of that closing section, the last 5-6 songs. Let me just double check that the last. Yeah, from Ever Loving onwards, I love that closing section. So I guess it's another track in there. So yeah, be big guy by that. But yeah, I think that's the only one. I think.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that particular song, also another instrumental. This for me, it just didn't catch fire. Felt a wee bit unfinished for me, which is why I didn't go for it. I think so. You picked that, and I think Down Slow. Paul, you picked that one, which I think was just a 90-second piece. I don't know. Do you remember that one?
Just a nice wee quick song, in and out.
The way you lead your life.
1.5 minutes. That's right. Yeah.
You're boasting now. Yeah, I mean, I didn't pick that particular one. I just thought it was 90 seconds of nothingness. Although I will say it would have been one of those things. It would have been a cool hidden track at the end of the album. It would have been quite nice to have had that there. You know how you don't hear anything for a couple of minutes, then that kicks in.
So what was that? Was that Down Slow?
That was Down Slow, yeah.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't really go anywhere, does it?
No.
This one is.
No.
Yeah, so there are a couple of fillers.
Yeah.
That and Seven, I think.
Yeah.
Not needed. But they're quite short tracks, aren't they? But they're not really needed.
They are. So I think the three none of us picked were, in fact, Ross, you picked Inside as well.
Aye.
That didn't get on.
Yeah, and that's different in that the closing section, it's actually quite, because what have I got? There's quite an ambient, sort of mid-tempo sort of techno song. So in terms of the sound of it,
yeah.
So I think it's a wee bit different to the closing tracks, but not as probably weaker out of the last 5.
I call that the yoga song, Ross. That's it. You could do yoga to that one. It's like ambient background noise.
Aye.
Yeah.
There's not really a lot to it, but there's a wee bit of piano on there, I'm thinking there, but yeah.
Yeah. So 2 songs neither of us picked, or none of us picked, I should say, were Seven, which is really just a 60-second instrumental, which doesn't really go anywhere, and If Things Were Perfect, which was another one of Moby talking over a drum beat. So that was an automatic no from me.
Me, baby.
Yeah.
Okay, so, well, before we reveal the supercut in its entirety of play, let's maybe do Joke of the Pod.
And for our final rule tonight, it's time for another edition of one of our favorite departments here on Real Time, explaining jokes to idiots.
So you guys got any Moby jokes? I found some amazing, not Moby, the pop star ones, but Moby Dick.
Yeah, that's one.
There were some amazing jokes, which I was laughing away to myself last night. How do you know Moby Dick was he consumed lots of Well, if you guys don't have any Moby jokes, I do have one. So let me, and it's not even that good a one either, but let me give you it. What do you call a bald pop star who has a fat wasp as a pet that cuts his lawn? Moby. I told you it wasn't any good. Moby. There we are, ladies and gentlemen. That's the joke of the pod. So let's reveal the supercut of play. So we've got Porcelain, Why Does My Heart Feel So Bad, Body Rock, Everlong, Rushing, Honey, Find My Baby, Southside, Natural Blues, Run On, My Weakness, Machete, The Sky Is Broken, and a cover of INXS's I Need You Tonight.
Come here, baby.
Sung by Paul as Moby as Jim Morrison. Yeah. So that's 13 songs coming in at 49 minutes. So we've come in under 1 minute than we need to, which is great. So let's revisit our ratings. So originally, Paul, you had this down as a 2 out of 5 album. Where would you rank the supercut?
Push it up to a 3.
Yeah, you're a charitable soul.
Well, yeah.
Ross, you were at 5. Are you keeping it at 5 or keeping it at 5?
Yeah.
And for me, I was a 4 previously. Looking at that, yeah, I'd be quite happy bumping that up to a 5. Great. selection of songs there. Yeah. So, do we prefer the original or the supercut? Well, I prefer the supercut. Paul, you obviously do. What about you, Roscoe?
Probably in that year, I'm missing a couple of songs one song probably that I would love on there, but other than that, it's trimming out the songs that don't really bring. They're more forgettable. So I think it's a tighter album and better for it.
Yeah, agreed. So if you want to listen to the TTMF supercut of Play, you can do so on Spotify, and we will post a link to that in our Facebook group.
1989, and in 1989, I was squatting in an abandoned factory in a crack neighborhood, and I had no bathroom and no running water, and I was making around $3,000 a year and desperately trying to get a record deal. And then the book ends in 1999, right before the album Play came out.
Yeah.
Which, Play went on to be successful, but I thought it was going to be my last album.
Oh.
And I had lost my record deal. I was battling alcoholism. My mom had just died. I was going broke, and I was going to make this one last album, Play, and I was convinced that was going to be the end of my career.
It's the final questions. So, guys, what non-Moby Play songs would you recommend? So, what other Moby songs would you recommend that are not featured on Play? If people are maybe just finding Moby out for the first time, what would you say?
I Need You Tonight.
We'll just try and get songs that you guys don't know and what you'd actually be into. I mean, you'll probably know what was the single from 18? We All Made the Stars.
Great song.
That's a good tune.
Yeah.
But you probably know that. So going back to the B-sides, so there's a Play B-sides, and I was actually just going into my track listing compilation, so I've got a wee Excel, so I had a wee check. So there's a song called The Sun Never Stops Setting, and another song or track called Spirit. So that's the two. Right. There's a 3 or 4 others as well that are on that Rex. Same kind of thing. Majority it's probably instrumental, but there's like gospel samples in some of the tracks. So it's really worth checking out if you like the album, and I think there'll be a couple of treasures to be had in that. And then other than that, it would be tracks you guys already know and probably know your cup of tea.
Alrighty, thank you. Paul, any that you would recommend?
The one from the Go to Extreme, is it Go to Extremes from the Born Identity?
Extreme Ways?
Or Extreme Ways. The same thing.
You've kind of put two Moby songs together there and made a new one, Go and Extreme Ways. Yeah, I would agree with you around Extreme Ways, and because I own all 3 versions, but yeah, you can get the one that was on the 18 album that was featured in the Born Identity and the Born Supremacy, and he then done another version for the Born Ultimatum in 2007, and he then done another one, a reworking for the Jason Bourne movie, which was
2016.
2016, I wanted to say, yeah. And they're all worthy of your time. Yeah, they're all worthy of your time. Yeah, any others?
The Bond one.
You're sticking with the movie stuff. Okay. I would go with you. Extreme Ways, brilliant. Love of Strings, which was the B-side to Extreme Ways. And I have to say, what a double A-side that would have made. 2 absolute frackers. Criminal is just the B-side. It's a beautiful Lost Sheffield classic Moby tune. So yeah, look that out, Love of Strings. And you can get it on the B-sides, the 18 B-sides compilation. It's tremendous. There's another song on 18 as well called In My Heart, which is great. Ross, you already mentioned We're All Made of Stars, which was, I think, maybe the first single from that album, 18. And another brilliant song is called Mistake, which is on the Wait For Me album from 2009. And I think the first time I heard it, it was used in a movie called The Next 3 Days. Used really well in that. And Next 3 Days, it was Russell Crowe.
Elizabeth Banks.
Elizabeth Banks, that's her.
Yeah, it's always Elizabeth Banks.
Yeah, her and Russell Crowe in it. The Next 3 Days. So yeah, the song that's used in the kind of final act of that movie when things kick off is Mistake. It is brilliant. So yeah, check that out. Highly recommend it. And that is the final questions. So guys, how do you feel after revisiting Moby's play, or for Paul checking it out for the first time?
Yeah, it's good to listen to different things. Did you not hear me? No.
That was a very succinct answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
All I heard was it's good to listen to different things. Was that all you said?
Mm-hmm. That was it. Yeah. No more words can express how I feel.
Okay. I need you tonight. And Ross, what about you?
It's good. Yeah, it's good revisiting it. I mean, I think it's good revisiting the album first time for quite a while, and just discussing with you guys and getting a view of the kind of song that you like and how you kind of see things differently. You love different tracks, so I think that's all it's the way, isn't it? Everybody's got different tastes, so you just maybe you hear the same song but you hear it differently. Maybe that's what it is. Some things float your boat, some things don't. But yeah, still a classic album for me.
Mm-hmm. For me, I really enjoyed revisiting it, and I think because we're doing this, that was a good prompt. It's been on my to buy list for a while to get the album on record on vinyl. So this has been the kind of push I needed to get it. So it's been fun listening to again. Why does my heart feel so bad? It must be because it's time for us to go. So thanks to Ross for joining us, and to you for listening. And until next time, keep trimming.
Trimming the Musical Fat podcast is a Stephen and Paul Nicholson production. Contact us via voicemail by going to anchor.fm/TTMF/message, or tweet us at musical trimming, or email us at trimmingthemusicfat@gmail.com. Keep up to date on the show by joining our Facebook group or visiting our website www.trimmingthemusicalfat.com.